Right guys, and welcome to Carflix. Today I'm going to be showing you how to change the front grille from the traditional fins to honeycomb mesh on a 2010 Peugeot RCZ. So without further ado, let's crack on with that video. Right guys, so the bumper is off and this is what I'm left with. This is all the damage that was done by that bird. I've already started taking off some of the plastic parts, so this bit had already been damaged when the bird hit it. These kind of, you can see how much damage has been done there, and you literally just pop it off with a screwdriver, these two bits. But the top fin, as I like to call them, this won't come off, and I'll show you the reason why this won't come off in a second. But my idea is I was gonna use this honeycomb mesh from the inside, but it just didn't look right. Also, this is all kind of one piece, this where all your parking sensors are, so you can't just cut all this out. I mean, that would have looked really good, but I need my parking sensors. So I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these fins out and then cut them across this line here, and then when I put the honeycomb mesh in, it'll just cover all that. Also, I don't know why Peugeot put this piece of plastic in. I'll show you that on the other side in a minute. Again, I'm going to do the same here, is just cut the fins off and then hopefully manage to fit the honeycomb mesh in this section here so it all matches, and hopefully that'll look really good. So I'm just going to spin the bumper around now and I'll show you what I mean. So this is the bumper from the other side, and the reason you can't get the top fin off is because of these. They've put like these plastic screws in with a, I think it's a T20 torque. And all you do, they're not very tight, you just undo them like this. They're just plastic, not even metal. And then these should now kind of push out from the other side, which I'll do in a minute. But yeah, as you can see, you've got your parking sensors here, go along here and through the hole there, through the hole there, and then there as well. You've got your fog lights here, which as far as I can tell is held in by one bolt there and one bolt here. So I may remove these because I've got some plans for these as well. But yeah, it looks like I'm gonna have to just cut individual bits out. I have no idea why they put this bit in. This is actually a separate piece. I can only imagine it's to stop weather getting onto something. I'll further inspect that later. But yeah, for the time being, I'm gonna get cracking and start cutting with the Dremel and removing pieces of the bumper. So yeah, I've just removed this inner plastic piece. I have no idea what this was for, but I just used a flathead screwdriver, popped all the metal bits out, and this bit just came off straight away. So that'll look better straight off the bat. Oh, and another thing, to push these out, obviously when you took the screws out here, is literally just pull this out as well. So that's through there, pull that out once you've taken the screw out, and this should just start pushing out like that. And now that these have pulled out, these should just start to come off. I've never been a fan of these fins, if I'm quite honest. There you go. And that is how you take the fins off. And now you can see these exposed fins, I can now start to just cut them so they're flush. So when I do cut a piece out of honeycomb, I can literally just go over the top of it and it should look really, really good. Right guys, so I'm just going to show you what I've been doing. So I've been using the Dremel, using the cutting tool, this one, and basically what I've been doing, I've just been putting it on and cutting through. I'll try and demonstrate what I've been doing with one hand. Well, it's a little bit shifty, but I'll show you just so you can get an idea of what I'm doing. Okay, so here goes. And that's what I've been doing and slowly cutting a section at a time, and it's starting to come out, and then we'll start getting an idea of what this thing's going to start looking like. Right guys, so you join me the next morning. I've started to cut the fins off here, and I've started to use the disc instead because it's less messy and it's slightly more precise. It generates a little bit more heat, but what I'm going to do is, once I've removed these properly, and if you can see that, I'll then sand all this down, because this is all going to be covered up by the mesh. My plan is, once I've cut everything out, I'm going to make a template out of cardboard, and I'm going to do, much like the feline kit did, is basically do my own kind of feline kit, but using honeycomb. Because all this, I was going to cut all this out, but it's all structural. It supports this center section here. So if you start removing these bits, because it's all one unit, then this will just sag or flap about in the wind. So I'm going to go for a feline kit look. Right, so before I move on to starting sanding everything down, I've started to remove this top section as well. And the way to do it is cut the corners away first using the drill tool, which is this one. Do it at the other side as well, and then what you want to do, because you can't get to these bottom bits very well, you want to cut the top of the fins all the way along like so, and then after you've done that, you want to cut these like tabs out one by one, and then hopefully this whole section comes out. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to cut these off so I can fit the mesh completely flush over the top here, and it's got something to grab to that's flush, because as you can see it sticks out. So I'm going to do what I've done here, which is flatten it out by using the disc to cut it out, and then I'll sand it all down so it looks neat. But yeah, I'm also going to cut these bits off now that I've removed this, so I can get to the bottom sections and remove those as well. If you're enjoying this video so far, why not consider liking and subscribing? Right guys, so this is what it used to look like. Unfortunately, I can't get in here to cut this out properly with a disc. So what I've had to do is cut it all. It's not pretty, but I will smooth this down so it looks a bit, you won't really see this anyway once the honeycomb's over the top of it. But I'm going to smoothen all this out. But yeah, that's what you have to do. And unfortunately, it does make it a little bit flimsy. But what I'm hoping is when I put the screws in to hold the mesh in, it will give that strength back again. But yeah, that's what you have to do to get the fins, where the fins used to be out there. You've got to literally cut the whole thing out. So I've now changed onto the sandstone sander, and this is what it used to look like, all jagged. And this is what it looks like now. Yes, it's not straight, but this is going to be covered, but it's all smoothened. I've started on these as well, where they used to look like that, and it's coming along nicely. You just got to take your time. I'm going to do everything, all these that's been cut, and smoothing them all out, so that when I put the new honeycomb on, it's got something nice to attach to. Right guys, so all the smoothing is done. It's come out quite well. It's not perfect, but it's all smooth. I've smoothed out all the tabs, all the rough edges. Now I did debate on actually cutting this out, but then I thought, well, I'm still going to need it for extra support and to put the honeycomb to, so I'm going to leave it on for now. I could always cut it off at a later date. But yeah, it's come out really well. It's smoothened off really well where all the tabs used to be. And yeah, it's now good time for making the template to fit the honeycomb. Now, I initially started to use cardboard, but you just can't get in, and it's a bit of a nightmare. But I've had a little bit of a brainwave. What I'm going to try and do is use foil and kind of like cram it into the nooks and crannies and make a perfect template of it. And then I can put that onto cardboard then and trace the outline. And that should be then a perfect fit. So bear with me. Right, so this is the first section. All I've done, I've got a square piece and I've kind of like trapped it into that area and then kind of wrapped it around. And I'll do the same at that side. And what I'll do, I'll just keep doing sections at a time, stick them together, and then when I can peel it off as one piece, I'll then should have a rough template of what I need to use. Right, so it's coming on now. All I'm doing is bending it to shape. I've stuck bits on so it doesn't move. Stuck 2 pieces together now, stuck the ends on so it doesn't move, and then I'll just keep layering across until I've got the rough shape, and then I can peel it all off. Right guys, so I've now completed the foil. I'm going to slowly peel it off. What I did was I just followed the lines the best I could to get the pattern, but with this top one I just did 1 piece, bit of tape on this side, pulled the roll across, bit of tape here, and then what I did, I just kept pushing it in, supporting it from the back. I had to put a bit there because that tore a little bit, but that's fine. And this will give me all my shape before I now slowly peel it off, lay it on some cardboard and get my templates. Right, so here's our basic shapes. This doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to be roughly cutting it out using cardboard. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw around with a pen, and then I'm going to cut it out with scissors, and then I'm going to fit it until I get it just right, and then I can transfer it onto the honeycomb. Right, so the templates are done. It took a lot of cutting, and you can add bits in with tape if you've gone a bit over. It's not a big deal, but as you can see, I've got my templates made up now. So the next thing is going to be laying it down, drawing the template out on the honeycomb and seeing how we get on. Right, so I've got a little bit of a problem. It's slightly too small. But I'm not too bothered with this one because I can do away with the edges. It's not a major deal. The other one, however, is a bigger problem, but I'll come back to that. So what I've done is I've marked it with a knife. You can't really see it on this video, but I can see it. So what I'm going to do is, I've already marked it under there. You can't really see it, but I will start cutting that out using the Dremel, and we'll see how we get on. Right, guys. So I've been using the Dremel with the disc. Been following these cuts that I've done with a knife, and now I'm just removing the last little bit like that, and that's coming out really well. I think the other thing I've got to do is just tidy these bits up here again with the wheel, with the sand wheel, just to get it all nice and smooth on the edges. But that's actually come out really well so far, so we'll continue. Right, so it's all cut out the best I could possibly do it. I've had to do this into 2 pieces, unfortunately, but I'll think of something. But yeah, that is the best I could do. It took me a long time because I had to shave all the ends off. So if you're thinking of doing this, prepare for a full day of graft. But right, let's try and fit these to the bumper. Right guys, so it is done and it looks awesome. I'm so happy with that, and I can't wait to get it back on the car. It was really easy to fit. I just fitted 1 screw there, kind of bent it across, put another screw there, and then another one in the top just there. I mean, it ain't perfect, don't get me wrong, but if it's for like a DIY kind of do-it-yourself project, you know, save yourself over 100 quid doing it yourself, and you want that kind of honeycomb look instead, I think it's come out all right. Obviously, you just got to take your time with it. It's not an exact science, and just do your best. I mean, I had to come up with an improvisation. I've put a couple of zip ties just here. Obviously, the piece wasn't long enough. But apart from that, you can't really tell unless you're really looking for it. Especially when everything's black behind it when I fit it to the car. But I'm really tough with that, and it has made it so much more aggressive.
A great success!
And there it is. Would you look at that mesh grille, and how cool does that look? It looks absolutely awesome. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing. See you on the next one.